The transformation of Singapore from sleepy fishing village to Asian economic tiger is a modern fairy tale. The riverfront areas of Boat Quay and Raffles Quay evolved from thriving trading port to become the central business district, forming the now familiar skyline. The radical change to the waterfront landscape began with Singapore's first skyscraper, the Asia Insurance Building. Located at Finlayson Green near Raffles Place, the Asia Insurance Building was officially opened in 1955. At the time of its completion, the 20-storey complex was the tallest building in Southeast Asia.
Asia Insurance brought in a new way of work life. It's like when people go to work, they actually have to take elevators to go up to their office on the 18th floor, for example. So that is a totally different concept. Before that, people only work in the shophouses. People used to live above where they work, but Asia Insurance is fully commercial building at that time. The AIB building is a very important symbol for Singapore at the post-war period, because it was built at that time when we have to rapidly catch up in terms of building industry to cater to the new business needs after the war.
Designed by one of Singapore's pioneer architects, Ng Keng Siang, the Asia Insurance Building successfully fused regional modern architecture with local features and amenities.
Ng Keng Siang was also a very important architect for us because he was one of the first few local architects that got trained overseas. He's one of the first few Singaporeans that got accepted in the Royal Institute of Architects in Britain. He was also one of the president for the Society of Malayan Architects.
This was never an entrance to Asia Insurance Building, but it was the entrance to the Korean Exchange Bank. There are two entrances. One is on this side. Yeah, this is a Raffles Quay entrance, right here. The old days, this has got nothing. It was just water. This is all reclaimed land now. In fact, this is also reclaimed land, but many, many years ago.
Let's look at the original layout plan of the building. It hugs a very significant corner. It's almost like an L-shaped plan with a circular corner feature, a very iconic tower in the middle. So that's how the building addresses the junction. Because of the prominent location of the building, it was actually used for decorations to welcome the Queen Elizabeth during the coronation in 1953.
I have been a tenant since 1979 until 2006. When they wanted to convert this place into a service apartment. Okay, I think my table used to be here, facing that way, because my door to my room was somewhere there. Yeah, the view that you get was the same view that you get there, and of course the sea that you see over here. There were no roads here, there was just water here. This is the chute that your staff can throw letters in. You put a letter into here, there's a slot here. It goes straight down into that big bin below.
He created two service core at the ends to bring people up to the top floors. And in the middle at the back, he created the air well, which would bring light and air into the middle of the plan so that most of the people who uses the building gets to enjoy light and fresh air. You notice the very distinctive horizontal bands on the building. Those are not just purely decorative. They are actually like sun shading ledges that he created above the window so that in our hot tropical climate, you can actually cut glare and sunlight streaming into the room, making it a lot more comfortable for the office workers to work in the office.
After it ceased to be an office complex, Singapore's first modern skyscraper was earmarked for conservation in April 2007. The Asia Insurance Building has undergone a massive restoration and is about to begin a new lease of life.
It was a sad day for me to leave. I really, as I said, I enjoyed being in this place, because for a building, the important thing is your people who are using it, the people who are next door to you, your landlord. Those are the important things, right? But this, of course, is a historical, iconic building.
Restored at a cost of $60 million, the the new Ascot Singapore Raffles Place, while positioning itself as a world-class service apartment complex, also manages to retain the original flavour of the building as well as a piece of our architectural history.
Along this 5-foot way surrounding the perimeter of this building is this conspicuous black marble, as you can see. This is actually a Nero Potero stone, which is made from an island of Sicily in Italy. As you can see through the ravages of time, it has actually lost its luminosity as well as tonality. So what we have done is we have diamond polished it to this state to bring out its shine. And along these columns, you can see the two inlaid plaques, which was actually laid back in the 1953 to commemorate the coronation of Queen of England, and as well as for the official opening of Asia Insurance Building in 1955.
The important thing we kept here was also the mild steel windows that's on the facade. It's actually quite important to keep these windows because the way the frame is very slender, and you don't really get that nowadays if you use just normal aluminium windows.
There are several interesting features in all our apartments, one of which is retro motifs, which we discovered in the early days. Was actually found along in the original stair railings, which we actually adapted it, replicated it, and now it functions as a aesthetic aircon grill.
Oh, I had very happy times here. My neighbors were nice, my landlord's very nice, rent was cheap. Asia never had an agreement with us, they were just by word of mouth. Initially there were some rumors that it's going to be torn down. I was sad seeing that. Well, anyway, I was quite prepared to protest also if it's going to do that. But they've done a good job with this building. It's a nice building now. They've done up the interior quite well. Congratulations to Ascot. Let's leave my old office. We're done with visiting my office. It's very nostalgic. I miss that place quite a lot. Yeah, go back to the new office now. See you guys.
I'm very happy that it's conserved, and I'm very happy that it has been restored very sensitively and new use has been introduced so that the building is still relevant today. I'm happy that the building is still there, even though it's like dwarfed by all its neighbours. I think it's very important that whoever knows the history of the building or the significance of the building share with their friends and their families so that more and more people are aware of this layer of history in the CBD.
The height record of the historic Asia Insurance Building would be broken repeatedly by its younger neighbours. That record has been held for 2 decades now by a soaring silver tower at the prestigious address 1 Raffles Place. Shaped like an upturned shoe, this prime spot of land quayside is dubbed the Golden Shoe. A long-time magnet for the country's major banking and financial institutions. Located right in the cluster of premium office buildings is the sleek OUB Centre. In the late 70s came a wave of collaborations between international architects with local companies. The OUB Centre was one of the best results. It shares the title of Singapore's tallest building with the Republic Plaza and UOB Plaza 1. Completed in 1988, the 63-story OUB Centre was designed by famed Japanese architect Kenzo Tange, working with local partners SAA Architects.
When we were asked to design this building, one of the requirements was that just because this was one of the first tall building in Singapore, the building can be seen from all directions. Therefore, the client requested us to create a building which does not have a back side to it. This building has 2 triangular forms slipping away, and then that gives a very dynamic sculptural quality. As you change your viewpoint, the building form change its shape so that it gives a different expression.
For a dramatic effect, the entrance to the building is accentuated by an 8-story high cutaway to create an airy feel.
Actually, on the ground level, there's 31-meter cutout was created. At that time, it was one of the largest cutout under the high-rise tower. But what we tried to do is here is a Raffles Place, And then this cutout will connect all the way to the Singapore River, so that we are trying to visually connect between Raffles Place and the Singapore River over here. My father, Kenzo Tange, has been not only an architect, but urbanist as well. Therefore, every time we decide on designing a building, we don't look at that building as it is, but we look at the whole surrounding area, because a building exists within a city or environment.
One of the most recognizable buildings in Singapore, the OUB Centre is also one of the most popular office spaces in the financial district due to its central location and the breathtaking aerial view it affords of the city.
The shape of the building is one part is taller than the other. We could not create a center core. So what we have done is a side core system. As it turned out, we create a columnless space which is versatile for any changes of the working space. International architects working in Singapore or foreign countries are very important, I think, because international architects bring in some new technology or architectural methodology and so on. At the same time, local architects bring in the flavor of the city, the history of the city, the tradition, which international architect cannot learn overnight. What was important to us is this exchange of the ideas, because we are going very global nowadays. But if it becomes global, I think locality is also a very important element. Otherwise, the city will become very homogeneous.
The OUB Centre continues to stand as a beacon, representing economic strength. Paul Tange is now following in his father's footsteps to design the crystalline OUB Centre Tower 2.
When I decided to become an architect, I still remember the moment, because I told my father, and there was 30 seconds of silence. I'm sure he was very happy that the son decided to follow the footsteps of the father, but at the same time, he knew exactly what it takes to become an architect and how difficult it is to be a good architect.
Approaching the city from the airport, one of the first landmarks to greet visitors is the Concourse, with its distinctive stacked silhouette. Completed at a cost of over $200 million in 1994, the building was designed by the great modernist architect Paul Rudolph, with local partners Architects 61, using the theme of a tropical skyscraper.
The Concourse, as per the winning scheme in the first URA land parcel bid, was a very different design in terms of the architectural expression. It had an office on the lower floors with a residential in the upper floors of the tower, and the podium was strictly a shopping area. That project went to site. The basement 2, basement 1, and the first story environmental deck was built. And then you had the 85 recession. That prompted a lot of developers in Singapore during that time to put on hold their ongoing projects. Concourse was reactivated in early '89. When we commenced on the second design of the Concourse, which is the current building today, again, market forces dictated a different mix for the various components of the building. The challenge then was that the main structures were already built. The Concourse actually rests on a few major columns, the office tower, and these columns could never be demolished when it was reactivated. So what Paul did was that, using the original structural concept, he devised and re-articulated the design to what it is now.
Paul Rudolph turned challenge to opportunity when he altered his original design for his client. The service apartments were moved to the podium, leaving an office-only tower. The result is one of the most unique buildings on the island. The Concourse, owing to its 41-story office tower, is one of the most recognizable landmarks on Beach Road.
Working with Paul Rudolph, I mean, that was like, wow, you know. That collaboration with Paul was really exciting for me, because at that time I was just about a year and a half fresh out of the university. Here is one of the architectural gurus during that era. I did ask Paul once what inspired him in coming up with this form. And Paul gave me a very honest and simple reply. It's the site and the surrounding that inspires the form. Because a building or a design has to take into consideration the surrounding context, and then you begin to design from outside in.
Having worked on the concourse during the construction of the building, Mr. Ng was later on employed as the complex manager to take charge of both its management and maintenance.
I've been working in this office for 17 years. When I first saw this building, it's like a giant because of the 12 columns. And architectural design is also very unique in the sense that it has an octagonal shape and resembles the number 8, which is associated with prosperity in Chinese culture. The design of the building contributed a lot to the success of the building. In terms of architecture features, in terms of the M&E provisions are well thought that they actually bring the buildings into the future.
Between the existing shopping podium and office tower, you'll see that there's this diagonal vista where one could walk through from Beach Road to Nickel Highway or vice versa. Then came the idea of ensuring that you don't have a straight edge parallel to the street. If you look at the history of all of Paul's buildings, you'll find that very few of his buildings have a 90-degree corner. They're always at an angle of 30 degrees or 45 degrees, as you can see in the concourse.
We have multiple accesses where people can come into the building, so it doesn't give people a very stiff office feeling. That means you're free to move about. There's so many ways you can come in, go out, and plenty of space.
He was dead set against the international style of architecture. International style was a period when most buildings, regardless of location, used to look about similar to one another. That was because of the very predominant use of very common materials, glass and steel. He was very clear that the skyscraper or the office tower had to take into account the tropical climate. So every 4 floors is one module. The floor at the lower portion of the module has a smaller footprint. The floor above has a larger footprint. So every floor above one another provides shade for the floor below. The windows are sloped at an angle of 45 degrees. Now what this does is that it prevents and helps to cut off direct sunlight coming into the space.
The 45 degrees inclined window actually gives users a lot of space, a lot of extra space that you cannot find in those office with vertical window.
With a 360-degree view of the Singapore River and city skyline, working here in the building is a visual treat in itself.
Okay, we are on the 34th floor, just right outside my office. Over here you can see 180 degrees of the Singapore landscape.
The glass is practically throughout the whole perimeter of the building. There are no solid elements, so you actually get a very panoramic view. Now this is one of the many atriums within the office building. And the whole idea of this atrium was to ensure and allow that the occupants of the various floors had a common meeting area. All the atriums within the Concourse building leads to an outdoor terrace for people to enjoy the views during their breakout times. Now, the outdoor terrace also serves another technical purpose in the sense that you realize that the facade steps in so that when you do the maintenance of the facade, you have a platform where the gondola can actually rest.
The most interesting tenants to me is American Express. They have been with us since day one, 1993 until now. I still can remember 911, we responded because American Express is in our building, so we're working very hard to make sure that we actually beef up security. I believe I will retire with this building because after so many working here, there's some kind of attachment. My director asked me to take over this building. He said that, treat this as your home.
One of the things that Paul spoke to me in private one day was that at the end of the day, whatever that happens, have a good laugh. Because that is the best cure to end a lousy day. The other thing that he taught me was that don't bring home work. Because, quote unquote, the problem will always be there on your table the next morning.
The Marina Bay Financial Centre is an over $4 billion project, which upon its completion in 2012 promises to cement Singapore's position as the financial capital of Southeast Asia, and at the same time enhance the stunning skyline of the city. Featuring 3 office towers with nearly 3 million square feet of premium office space, the development is already creating a huge amount of buzz and anticipation.
The Marina Bay Financial Center it caters to many different aspects of the office environment. It's providing very efficient office space. The financial service industry prefers rectilinear floor plates, so the office buildings are designed with that basic premise in mind. At the same time, it allows companies to draw on the greatest talent because they're providing a really spectacular environment for those people to work in. The Marina Bay Financial Center comprised of 3 commercial office buildings and 2 residential towers supported by some retail at the base. One of the interesting features about this tower is it has a sky garden on the roof. When the ORQ building was built, it houses cooling towers and mechanical equipment for the entire build-out of the MBFC. That allows us to build buildings that don't have cooling towers on the roofs.
The development will feature prominently as the centerpiece of the new Marina Bay, which the Urban Redevelopment Authority has earmarked as an international business and financial hub.
The MBFC is a new CBD. The existing CBD is constrained by the Singapore River and the former straits, and there's really not any opportunity for that area to grow anymore. So we're creating a new CBD that is responsive to the needs of financial service clients today. The synergy of uses that are combined here at the MBFC allows these spaces to be occupied throughout the day and creates a vibrant live, work, play environment. Most office buildings have a lifespan of probably 30 years before they get reconfigured in some way. One of the things that we try to do, the forward-looking office building builds flexibility in so that as changes take place in the marketplace, they can be easily accommodated without having to tear the building down and start all over again.
From the small businesses operating out of shophouses to the multinational corporations housed in towers of steel and glass, the trade and financial sectors of Singapore have come a long way. The concrete jungle that has subsequently enveloped our island bears testament to how far we have come and how Singapore has evolved as a whole. As the concept of working life shifts from traditional norms, we can look forward to a new prototype of office complex where we will not only work, but also live and play.